So you want to learn how to weld. You want to start welding and you don't know how to start. How do you start learning how to weld? There's a few different ways. So you can go meet your local welder, like me. We're usually, some of us are pretty nice. Welders are assholes. But if you go meet your local welder and maybe, fucking shit. That's not gonna work at all. So let me teach you how to weld. Let's start with what machine should you buy? There's 3 different machines here. All of these are different and each one is useful for building mini trucks. Let's go by budget, all right? Your cheapest one is gonna be down here. This is a flux core machine. And flux core welders use no gas. That means no argon or any type of shielding cast that you have to replace, which displaces oxygen and makes a cleaner weld. With a flux core welder, the flux, which keeps the oxygen off the weld, is inside the wire. It's the same thing as a stick welder, it's just a squirt gun. These are all 3 squirt guns, MiG welders. So flux core, no gas. That's a big money saver because a bottle of gas is like $350 right now. You can weld this, you can do all of this with a flux core welder. The downside is you cannot do body work. You can't do any body work with a flux core welder that I'm aware of. I wouldn't anyway. You want to have some clean shielding gas for that. So people that build race cars, like Honda circuit track race cars or frames for motorcycles, they're all perfectly okay to use flux core welders. You can buy a flux core for like 150 bucks. This is an old one. That thing is ancient. It's a Kawasaki, so not even a great example. That's my first welding machine. I got that thing 15, 20 years ago, and it still works. That was like $200 new back then. The technology's come so far that would be dirt cheap now. I think you could probably get a flux core welder, a name brand one for like $200, but probably you could get one at Harbor Freight, 150. Either way, you're below the $250 range when you're buying flux core welders. Next up, this is my Hobart Handler 135. This is a Facebook Marketplace welder. I bought this welder for 200 bucks on Facebook Marketplace, and it takes shielding gas. This is a MiG welder. See the green line going in the back here? That's argon. There's a compressed gas cylinder of argon over there. And so this makes a much cleaner weld, and it also welds colder. So with the shielding gas around the liquid puddle of metal, you can do certain things, move closer, faster, further away, and change your temperature, and add shielding gas and change your temperature. You can get a lot more maneuverability with this machine. And you buy this new for like $500 to $700. This particular one is $700 at Tractor Supply. It's not a 135 anymore, it's a 140 now. So the Hobart Handler 140 is the MiG welder. It's a gas shield MiG welder. Comes with the whip, comes everything ready to go. You plug it into the wall. You can run a big extension cord. You cannot run a small extension cord, but a good beefy extension cord. And you can stretch this thing out 50 feet away from the garage. So again, $700. This is gonna come with the regulator for the gas. This comes with everything you need to weld except for your personal protective gear, which we'll get to. The Hobart Handler 140 is my choice for the beginning welder, for the hobbyist, because of its price. $750, $800 after tax. That comes with a warranty. Get that, because I say get it because I used it, because I ran over mine. I backed over mine with a trailer and broke the whip, so that I got a new whip for free. So, all right, so shielded gas MiG welders, $800 and below. This one is at Tractor Supply, but you can buy that type of welder from Lincoln. You're gonna see those commonly on Marketplace for $200. You'll see a red one, it's like 200, 250 bucks. Everybody's had a Lincoln gas MiG welder. Those are easy to find, great to use. When you buy them used, all right, a couple of tips for buying a used welding machine: make sure it's got gas hooked up to it, because a lot of people will buy it and not use gas on it ever, and the lines will be dry rotted, and they know it or they don't, but it won't be working. And unless you feel like working on a welding machine when you get home, you test it and make sure gas works. Other than that, if you can weld with it on site, you're good. If you can't weld with it on site, I probably wouldn't buy it. Because anybody selling a welding machine should be able to let you weld it with it. Like, it's not hard. Last up, because it's the most expensive one, is the Hobart Handler 190. And I think this one was $800 as well as the 140. I don't think there was much of a price variable here, and that's because there's very different applications available here. That welding machine being 120 volts, it's big enough to weld anything on these little trucks. This one is 220 volts. It's also big enough to weld anything on these trucks, but it can weld aluminum. So for another $200, you buy this aluminum spool gun, and you can weld aluminum with this machine plugged into 220 volts. Downside is this only runs on 220 volts. So you can't go run around town with it. You have to be plugged into a generator or a house. So the Hobart Handler 190 is my choice of welder because I need to be able to weld aluminum here. And for a hobbyist, if that's your thing, if you work on boats, you know, if you see yourself in the future repairing wheels or something, this is great for you. This is a bit much for anybody that doesn't plan on welding aluminum. It's a pain to weld until you get it. So I guess I could get into some PPE. I don't have normal PPE here. I make all my welding hoods. When you go to buy your welding machine, they're gonna sell welding hoods there, and it's gonna be like 80 bucks. And for $80, you get a automatic hood. For anything less than that, you get a non-automatic, which is fine if you want to be old school cool, but automatic hoods are fantastic. You don't have to pick them up. You can just see through them all the time. And when you start welding, it goes dark immediately. That's the route. So spend $80 to $120 on your welding hood. Another feature that you're going to want on your welding hood that you don't know is a button over here on the side, on the outside, that says grind. Because if it's on the inside, all your buttons in there, that's hard to get to. Having your buttons out here, good stuff. The one that says grind, when you push it and hold it, then it won't go dark. Then you can turn on your torch and use your torch. So you have a hood that works with it too. Go ahead and pick up a pair of gloves, and don't even think about cutting without a face shield. You need to buy a face shield while you're in there too. Don't ever think that it's okay to not wear a face shield, for the love of God. Especially if you're gonna do this stuff as much as we. If you're fabricating and welding every day, you got to wear your PPE. I guess that's good enough for tonight. I ain't gonna stretch this out too long. Appreciate the support from you guys. And a lot of you wanted to see the back half of this truck. So I'll throw that in here with this video. And I'm sure I'll throw it in some more in the future. So back here, I got a 4-link suspension. 2 upper link bars. These are 3/4 inch diameter Schedule 80 pipe with heim joints welded into the ends of them with adjustable nuts. And my lower link bars are 2 inch by 3 inch square tubing. And that's at Schedule 40, I think. I don't remember how they gauged that. It's like 3/16 thick. I've got my airbags right here on top of my link bars, and a floating plate, which I suspended with some 90-degree and 45-degree angles welded to my frame. That is a very abstract way to do that. I don't know why I thought that would be great, but it turned out great. And then these unilaterals, like they just give some opposition so there's no stretching, because that would have a little bit of springiness to it before I put those in there. C-notch back here, it's normal, typical C-notch, but it's homemade. I didn't buy it. So that is the back half of this truck. There's a giant cross member in there. This will be a lot easier to see in daylight. You get the gist of it. Back here, air tank, fuel cell. That's a fuel cell out of a boat. And so much custom back here. I'm gonna have to do like an extra long interview for this one. Anyway, thanks for tuning in tonight, guys. And if you have any questions about welding, feel free to ask me in the comments. It'd be great to know that these videos reach some people. And if they do, then I'll get better at it. I'll keep doing it. So, good night.